Tonight on MMA Connected.
Here he is, the one and only Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice prepares for his return to the octagon. But who will win this season's Ultimate Fighter? We break down the big matchups en route to the tough finale.
Lorenzo and I are, we're best friends and we're business partners.
He's on one end of the spectrum, I'm on the other end of the spectrum, and we kind of meet in the middle, and things seem to be going pretty well.
In an MMA Connected exclusive, we get up close and personal with Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White to find out their secret behind the UFC's success. Also ahead, find out why next year's UFC event in Montreal might be up against some major competition, while Vancouver takes one step closer to playing host to the UFC in 2010. Plus, news on Anderson Silva's latest setback and how it will affect his title defense versus Vitor Belfort. MMA Connected is now.
Welcome to MMA Connected, Canada's #1 MMA show presented by UltimateBet.net, the ultimate poker experience. Big news this week as the state of Massachusetts just legalized MMA. And according to UFC President Dana White, New York State is next, followed by Ontario. But there's also great news for fans on Canada's West Coast.
Inside the Octagon.
The next step in legalizing mixed martial arts in the city of Vancouver took a huge leap this past weekend as 2 amateur events successfully took place, impressing city officials in attendance. Local politicians will now review their findings this December, along with the UFC's VP of Regulatory Affairs, Mark Ratner, in hopes that Vancouver will legalize MMA, to be followed by an official announcement that the UFC will hold an event there in the summer of 2010. On the heels of the announcement that Montreal's Bell Center will play host to UFC 113, Machida vs. Shogun 2 on May 1st of next year, some bad news may be on the horizon for the event. Looking to steal the UFC's pay-per-view thunder are boxing promoters Top Rank and Golden Boy, who are rumored to select the same date to showcase the only big fight left for the Sweet Science, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao versus Floyd Money Mayweather. Sorry, Montreal fans, but MMA Connected has learned that the UFC welterweight title fight between George St. Pierre and Dan Hardy will likely take place at UFC 111, scheduled for the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey on March 27th. Look for the UFC to not only stack this card with East Coast fighters like Frankie Edgar, Jim Miller, Ricardo Almeida, Phil Baroni, and possibly even the Octagon debut of MMA legend Renzo Gracie, but also use this event to showcase the economic impact a UFC event can bring to nearby New York City and finally seal the deal to bring MMA to the Empire State. The UFC 108 injury curse continues to take its toll. First Brock Lesnar, then Minotauro Nogueira, and now Gabriel Gonzaga, who was the latest heavyweight forced to withdraw from his bout, citing a staph infection in his arm and leaving Junior Dos Santos without a fight. The UFC 109 main event between Anderson Silva and Vitor Belfort has been scrapped once again, as the Spiders camp is stating his surgically repaired elbow will keep him sidelined until at least April of 2010. The fight card at UFC 110, set for February 21st in Sydney, Australia, is starting to shape up. It now appears the heavyweight contender bout between Nogueira and Cain Velasquez has been moved to 110, also featuring the first ever fight at middleweight for Vanderlei Silva, now taking on Michael Bisping, along with Joe Stevenson versus Aussie native George Sorteropoulos. MFC 23, Unstoppable, goes down this Friday at the River Cree Resort and Casino, featuring the return of Thales Leites, making his MFC debut versus Dean Lister, as well as a co-main event between Jason McDonald and Ultimate Fighter 3 veteran Solomon Hutcherson. For the latest blogs from McDonald and all your mixed martial arts news and opinion, log on to sportsnet.ca/MMA. And don't forget, this week is your last chance to cast your vote for MMA Connected, as well as yours truly for the 2009 World MMA Awards.
This Saturday marks the official debut of Kimbo Slice in the UFC. Since his lackluster performance against Roy Nelson, has he learned enough techniques to finally prove that he is the real deal and a true mixed martial artist?
Next event, the Ultimate Fighter Heavyweights Finale.
Pearl at the Palms Resort and Casino will play host to the Ultimate Fighter 10 finale and features a star-studded card highlighted by one of the biggest names in mixed martial arts today. Kevin Kimbo Slice Ferguson, the heavy-handed brawler from Miami, Florida, will be taking on the Nebraskan assassin, Houston Alexander, a fellow knockout artist with brutal knees from the clinch. This bout will take place at a catch weight of 215 pounds, and let's face it, there's no secret here. Both fighters live and breathe through their fists, but in the case of Houston Alexander, he may want to rethink his strategy. Kimbo's weakness is his ground game, something that became glaringly obvious in his fight with Roy Nelson earlier this season on The Ultimate Fighter. But Slice apparently has no intentions on improving it.
Greco-Roman wrestler, whatever that is.
Alexander should take advantage of Kimbo's MMA ignorance by taking him down to the ground and punish him for not understanding the importance of being a well-rounded fighter. If he decides to go toe-to-toe with Kimbo, he's playing with fire. Slice has proved that it doesn't take much for him to knock people out. The main event in the Ultimate Fighter finale features the future of the light heavyweight division, John Bones Jones, who puts his unpredictable fighting style against wrestling standout Matt the Hammer Hamill. Bones Jones, a former state champion, is no slouch when it comes to wrestling, but his skills on the ground pale in comparison to Hamill's. The Hammer is a three-time NCAA Division III champion, as well as a silver and gold medalist at the Deaf Olympics in both Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling. Jones should look to keep his distance from Hamill and work his incredible striking techniques, which include some of the most unorthodox and unpredictable combinations to ever be seen in MMA. Hamill is susceptible to leg kicks, as we saw in his bout with Rich Franklin at UFC 88, but does have enough striking power to knock guys out. For the Hammer to be successful, he needs to take the center of the octagon away from Jones, take the 22-year-old phenom down to the mat, control him, and ground and pound his way to victory. Another big fight set for Saturday night is a lightweight tilt between Frankie Edgar, the most underrated fighter in his division, when he takes on the undefeated Matt Veach. This is a giant step in competition for Veach, as Edgar is a top 5 lightweight who's defeated the likes of Tyson Griffin, Spencer Fisher, Hermes Franca, and most recently, former UFC lightweight champion Sean Sherk. Edgar is the real deal, possessing a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, respectable wrestling credentials, and a newfound love for striking. Look for the answer to punish Veach in the stand-up, working his angles and footwork, mixing his punching combinations with his Muay Thai leg kicks. There is no doubt Veach will have his hands full in this fight, but while he doesn't match up well with Edgar, he will make it up with a lot of heart. Veach has shown that he loves to throw punches in bunches and should look to finish Edgar off with his brutal ground and pound.
The other big fight this Saturday night is for the six-figure contract. We are now joined by Octagon girl Natasha Wicks, who asks the all-important question.
Hey Showdown, Louis from Moncton asks, who do you think will win this season's Ultimate Fighter?
I'm sticking with my original pick. Roy Big Country Nelson will win the Ultimate Fighter 10. He's almost there, but it's not going to be easy.
Showdown's Breakdown.
There are 6 fighters left in the running for the 6-figure contract and the right to be called the Season 10 winner of The Ultimate Fighter. Big Country Roy Nelson has already secured his berth in the semifinals after defeating Justin Wren by split decision in Episode 9, while in Episode 10, former NFL prospect Brendan Schaub defeated John Madsen by knockout in the second round. Nelson and Schaub will be cage-side as they await the winners of the last 2 quarterfinal bouts, which will feature Matt Mitrione versus James McSweeney and Marcus Jones, who is set to tangle with Daryl Schoonover. The Mitrione-McSweeney bout will likely showcase the power-punching Mitrione against the versatile style of McSweeney, who not only likes to stand and bang, but who also has a much better ground game than his opponent. Mitrione will need to punch his way to victory and do whatever it takes to keep the fight standing, because if it goes down to the ground, McSweeney will likely finish him off with ease. The same can be said for Marcus Jones, whose easiest road to defeat Daryl Schoonover is simple. Take him down to the mat, control him, and use